So,
Okay.
wow, we have one person already like sitting here waiting for us. Look at that.
Keener. Awesome.
Uh, oh, look at this. Okay, well, I'm going to introduce us. I'm Kristi. My publication is Wildhead Wanted, and this is Craig Rourke, also Canadian, and he writes Pinecone Diaries. So we're both Canadian. We're both from opposite ends of the country. I'm in the west, he's in the east. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about Canadiana. I actually wanted to go live with Craig because I love that he's writing about Canada, especially right now when people seem to be more into Canada. So,
Yeah, that,
um, go ahead. I wanted to ask you, like, for the people, you've already told this to me. Why did you choose Pinecone Diaries? I think it's a great
sure.
name.
Oh, thanks. So I picked Pinecone Diaries because I was going to write about 100% Canadian content or CanCon. And at the time, so this was like 6 months ago, it was a time when I was still like a little bit sketchy about using the flag and the maple leaf because I don't know, some people used it for some things that weren't very nice that said F somebody on it. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that. Just in case it gives the wrong vibe. So I thought, oh, a pine cone, like that's pretty universal. I was trying to think of something that you could find hopefully in every province and
Yeah,
territory, something that's resilient and it kind of reflects like nature and the wild
yeah,
spaces that are going to be there long after, we're here, they're here before us.
yeah.
Um, and then if I, yeah, get too like metaphorical and nerdy, like I like the idea that the pine cone's like a seed of a bigger idea that can sprout into a forest. And then I got a little
Yeah.
carried away with that, but yeah, that was the main idea.
I really love it, and I think I told you on our Zoom that we did before. I love your logo, like the maple leaf with the pine cone in front of it. I really love that. It's so
All right.
Canadian, so
Thanks.
Canadian and syrupy, maple syrupy.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of yeah, we're going for it. It's like there's I guess like a fine line between like two like Canadian like but and I see it in the comments somebody is already saying like Canadian, eh? I'm
And
like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we're not so yeah,
yeah,
like how much of that do you embrace like the A and the red green kind of stuff and then how much do you
yeah,
not
yeah.
lean too far, I guess, but
For sure. And one of the like common things that everybody makes fun of Canadians is the way we talk, like a boot. And like we're not that extreme like a boot, but we are kind of I notice it more when you say it. I notice you say it a bit more sharp than I say it.
okay. Yeah, I did think
There's
that I was, like, thinking of putting a boot on the table, and then I was gonna be like,
a boot.
just to see it if anybody got it, but, yeah,
That would
I
be awesome, that would be awesome. Also,
yeah.
this shirt here, this is like everybody I feel like everyone in Canada has one of these, because it's just like I don't know about you guys over there, but we're a lot of winter here, and this is really representative of us.
We are a lot of winter too. We're in, like it's ridiculous to say because like, it's called a snow belt where we are. So I'm in Owen Sound, which we were just talking before is in off Georgian Bay, which is part of Lake Huron.
Yeah,
So just because we're on the lake, we get a lot of lake effect snow.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it is sometimes when we're like, oh yeah, we're in the snow belt, and then we're like, yeah, but we don't live in the Arctic. Like
yeah,
that's that's
yeah.
snow. I was fortunate enough one time, I think in the 1998 or 99, I got to visit Cameroon on Baffin Island, and I'm
No
like,
way.
that's the snow belt. Like,
That's like the t
yeah,
up in the territories, right?
yeah, so it was like a super exciting time. That was so 1999 was the year that Nunavut became its own province,
Yeah.
and we had gone on a school trip that was planned, not anything to do with Nunavut, but there was like such a buzz in the little community we were in about Nunavut becoming its own province and having a say. It was yeah, it's like a magical place. Like I don't
Yeah,
I can't explain how beautiful it is, and I was worried because like, you can kind of tell from the pine cone, like, I like my nature and my trees,
yeah.
and the water, there's lots of water, but it was frozen, but, like, there's just, like,
That's so
this
Canada. Everything is frozen here.
yeah, there's, like, this rugged beauty up there, but, like, you have to be there to feel it, like, it's like a lot
Yeah,
of things Canadian, it's hard to, like, label properly. It's I don't know, it's feelings.
Yeah, yeah. I want to address this one question
Yeah.
because I
Yep.
see it, and then I want to talk more about what you were just saying. How
Yep.
did I come up with Wildhood Wanted? The absolute truth about it is there was a commercial for RV Go RV in Canada, and their whole thing was wildhood. They made it up. I think they made up the word wildhood. And I saw a commercial on TV. It's in my welcome post on my publication, and it was such a great ad for RV in Canada. And so I just fell in love with the word wildhood. And to me, I named it wildhood because I feel like I want everyone to find their wildhood, whatever that means to them, like whether it be wild, like out in travel and nature and whatever, or like just reinventing yourself in any way possible. So that's why I chose Wildhood Wanted.
That's
Um,
amazing. That video is like it gets you in the
so
feels.
good,
So
right?
yeah, just kind of like what we were talking about with things that you feel when you're out and about.
Out and
um,
about.
out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I wanted to touch on what you were talking about right before I said that. I think a lot of people don't know how big Canada really is. Like, I was trying to connect with a woman on Zoom one time, and she was in South Africa. And she said, "Oh, well, I'm 6 hours ahead of Canada." And I was like, "But do you know we have six time zones here? Canada is humongous." And
Yeah.
I think when you go to a lot of different places, like when I used to be in Jamaica a lot, they would say, "Oh, do you know so and so in Canada?" And I'm like, "Really?" And like, and a lot of people think that Toronto is Canada, because that's what most people know.
Yeah.
But it takes me the same amount of time to fly to you as it takes you to fly to the Caribbean. Like, it's a big
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. It's
So
massive.
and
That's
a lot of us never get the chance to see the whole country. Like, I've traveled a lot in my day, but my bucket list is Eastern Canada. I want to see Newfoundland and Labrador because their tourism commercials look incredible. I want to go to
yeah.
Labrador.
Yeah.
um,
I think I mentioned to you the other day that my ex-in-laws, my mother and father-in-law were there recently, like I think 2 summers ago, and they came back and they're pretty like laid back, subtle folks, like don't get too excited about anything, but
hmm,
they came back like just like vibrating, like they were so excited. They're like, man, you
yeah,
guys, you kids got to get there someday. It's the
yeah,
best place. And they commented a lot about like how beautiful nature was.
yeah.
But everything circled back to the people. So they'd started like story about, oh yeah, we saw this, we went out to the coast and saw this little fishing village. And then somehow it would be like, yeah, but our bus driver was like this coolest dude.
Oh,
He had
that's so
like all
awesome.
the best jokes, and he had toured around celebrities and just common folks
Yeah,
like us. And
yeah,
or yeah, it's just, and I think that's, I don't know, when you said about like wanting to see Canada, I think sometimes we take for granted that it's always just going to be there, and we'll get there someday. But it's like, well, then time
yeah,
gets on, and well,
yeah.
maybe we should start thinking about traveling a little
Going.
bit here.
Well, and that's the thing, like, Canada is so widespread, it's really hard. I've been to Toronto several times, like, and some GTA area, but I've never been further than Ontario because it's expensive to travel within our own country, like flights. It was cheaper for me to fly to Jamaica than it would have been to fly to Newfoundland or something like that, right?
Yeah, wild
Um,
day.
yeah, it's
Yep.
it's a lot, but East Coast is on my list now, and I think that I would like to do it on the road, like drive from here to there. That would take at least a week,
Yeah,
to be able
that
to stop and see the sites properly.
that'd be
But
awesome. And you get to
I
see
know.
Quebec too. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I've been on a layover in Montreal. I got stuck there for 5 days because of a snowstorm, actually. Um, but I didn't get to see much of Montreal because it was -35 and I was packed for the Caribbean, so I didn't really go out.
Right on.
But
I did see, sorry, in the comments, I think it was Amy. It took me a minute. I was like trying to figure it out. She said, yes, bye. And I'm like, oh, she's ducking out already. I'm like, oh no, bye. Like how they say boy on the East Coast, like, yes, bye.
is that how they say it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a little bit more
Oh,
dramatic than, yeah, yes,
that's
bye.
I've heard one of my old bosses a long time ago was straight from Newfoundland. And when he really got talking, it was hard to understand him. Like Newfoundlanders, for anyone who's watching, if you Google Newfoundland, just to, like any picture that will come up looks so beautiful and picturesque. And it's all these little colorful houses by the waterside. And it looks so great. But do you want to hear a really interesting tidbit I learned about my own country where I was born? The other day, I saw someone on Substack. I can't remember her name right now, but she had posted, she was in a little Airbnb in Iceland writing a novel, and she posted some beautiful pictures of Iceland. So I started Googling Iceland and went down the rabbit hole and found out that Canada, on average, is the coldest country in the world. Did you know
Oh,
that?
I didn't know
I
that.
would have thought Russia, Siberia, but on average, because of our territories, we have the coldest temperatures in the world, like inhabited places,
Oh,
not like Antarctica and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, so I mean, I believe it because I live in Calgary and we get lots of minus 30 days here. So
yeah. That's
yeah.
like there's like different types of cold. I think we Canadians are pretty good at explaining the cold because we spend so much time in it. But yeah, sometimes that number doesn't even mean anything. There's days here when it's like -10. It's like, oh my God, this is the coldest day ever. And then another day it'll be -10 and the sun's out. You're like, oh, it's beautiful. I
Yeah.
gotta eat my Duke.
Yeah, like is Ontario like in Calgary? Like sometimes you'll see people when it's minus 10 in shorts jogging
Yep.
outside because we just came out of a minus 30 snap, so minus 10 feels like the tropics.
Yep. That's my
It's
fave.
yeah, same
My
here.
favorite's the transition seasons when, yeah, you see someone with Birkenstocks and then their hood on with like bundled up because they're prepared
Yeah,
for anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on a little bit because you write a lot about Canada. Like I feel like you know a lot more. Know more about our country than I do, for sure. But there's a lot of interesting little stuff. I had a note written here to mention
Okay.
certain
Oh,
things.
hi,
Like
Andrea. And
like little things that you would never like. What are some weird town or area names near you? Do you have any?
oh, yeah, yes, there's one called Balaclava, which I think is funny because it's like
Oh, that's great.
but yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like this tiny little place. Um, I don't even think they would have a population. Like it's honestly, it's just an intersection with one stop sign, and there's an old hotel there that somebody's fixing up. Thank goodness, because
Oh, that's
it'd be a shame
amazing.
to see it. So there's Balaclava, and then there's a little town called Pinkerton, and I always
Yeah.
thought that was like a cool name. It's a like a little village, and they have this cool little antique place that's like it's in a renovated old church.
Yeah.
Again, there's I don't know how many people would live there, maybe a dozen or two. But the band Weezer, I know they're not Canadian, but when they had the album Pinkerton, I'm like, oh yeah, they got to play in
They're
Pinkerton.
putting us on the map.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Pinkerton.
We have a town like a little hamlet like that here, Dorothy. It's called Dorothy, and it's
Okay.
11 people. And literally all that's there is a grain elevator and like a four-way stop or something like that.
Wow.
It's pretty near I found it by accident because I was driving to Drumheller, which if I don't know if you know, you probably know.
Yep.
Drumheller has the Royal Tyrrell Museum, which is the largest dinosaur museum in the world, and that's like a couple hours from where I live.
Oh man, you're lucky.
Um, yeah, and the Badlands there and stuff. There's walking paths all through it. It's really cool. Like Canada has some really cool stuff. It's just, I guess, hard to discover it all because it's so widespread.
So widespread, and I think like our I don't know, our media diet, if that's the right way to say it, like a lot of what we're served doesn't come from Canada. Like it's imported from down south
Yeah,
or from across.
yeah,
So yeah, like sure you get local commercials during the NFL game on Global or whatever show it's on, but
yeah,
it's just not the same as like having things that are made here.
yeah.
But when you said about that place being the capital, um, there's a place not too far from here called Paris, Ontario.
Okay,
Oh, I
maybe
see.
I've heard of it. We have London,
uh,
Ontario too.
yeah, London's 3 hours from me. Paris is just a little shorter. And Paris is the cobblestone capital of Canada, and the buildings
Oh,
in that town are like beautiful beyond belief. Like you'd think you are in like the most beautiful place in Europe, or at least I
that's so
think so.
awesome. Yeah.
It's tiny, and it's not called Paris because of like any connection to France. It's because there was a gypsum mine uh, just next door, and they used the gypsum to make plaster of Paris. So then they called the place Paris. But I was like, oh, I've
Oh,
always thought it was Paris. But I did see in the comments someone did put Swastika, Ontario, and Kirkland Lake. So Swastika, of
seriously?
course, yeah,
Swastika?
yeah, it's a
Wow.
real, yeah,
That's
real place.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Northern Ontario. I think that was I don't know their real name. They go by Global History, but we've connected a few times. So yeah,
Yes.
there's some interesting places, eh?
Isn't there also a place? I don't know if this is Canada, but I'm pretty sure I heard this a long time ago. There's a place called Paradise, and then you have to go through another place called Climax to get there. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty
It
funny.
is, yeah. Yeah, there's a there's probably more than one. There's a Salem, Ontario too. It's just like this tiny little hamlet, and my
Yeah.
daughter, when we're driving by, she's like, "Ooh, don't want to go there on Halloween." But
Oh, that's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah,
The things that
yeah,
it conjures up. We
yeah,
have
yeah.
also, I talked to you about this on Zoom, but we have a town here in Alberta. And I didn't know this until I drove through it. It's called Hannah, Alberta, and it's the home of Nickelback. And everybody
Oh, right.
knows who Nickelback is, right? Like they're pretty famous internationally, I think, or they were in their time, anyways.
Yeah,
And you don't really think of things like the name Nickelback. You wouldn't really think of it's like obviously the Canadian nickel, the
yeah.
back of a nickel. But I didn't know that they were right here from like right in my area. I had no idea until I drove through that sign and they have a big billboard at the entry of the town. So it's kind of cool. There's lots of famous
Yep,
stuff here, but
yep.
that's why I love that you are writing about Canada because you're doing kind of like you're doing what I did when I was writing about Jamaica. I knew every
Okay.
single thing there was to know there. Like there was town names called like Rat Trap there. There was a town called Rat Trap.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
I know. But I really respect what you're doing because Canada is such a vast and versatile place. Like there's so many cultures here and so many things to see and do.
Yeah, it's like one thing. So it's like it's a guilty pleasure because like it's an excuse for me to explore virtually and not I can't afford obviously to travel
Yeah.
all across the Canada and
Yeah.
see every 3,457 communities that are unique. But I
But you
had
know that
this,
number. Like we don't, nobody else knows that number. You
yeah,
do.
it may be up for debate, but it was the best number I could find. I like
Yeah.
using census data and postal codes, and there's a few different databases that like that was kind of the closest number I could get. And then, but like things change all the time. I'll look up a town that's on our list and find that it's merged with another town, or some have separated. So like it's always
Interesting.
evolving. But
Yeah.
I was going to say my hypothesis was by exploring Canada that we would see like the unique regional like places and claims to fame, but
Yeah.
like deep down, like underneath, we'd realize like, every place like doesn't matter if you're in Nunavut or the East Coast, the West Coast, or anywhere in between. Like, uh, there's more things that are common than not. So that
Hmm.
was kind of my hypothesis because I was a little frustrated when I started. Just like it felt like a few months ago, even still now, like there's a lot of like divisive, I guess,
Yeah.
politics, and
Yeah.
that
There
message
is. And
seems to
especially
be
now because it's election season. We're having an election on the 28th. And if you go on Facebook and look at any of those, like the liberals or the conservatives, there's some asshole people online. And like it's just not nice. But I
no,
guess, in
that
America they
stuff hurts.
understand because it's the same.
Yeah,
But
like that stuff, honestly, like I started off talking about emotions, like that hurts my heart. Like I know
yeah.
it's sappy to say, but like so
Yeah.
like there's like this small part of me is like, man, I want to do something about that. Like
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
don't like write a just a little pebble in the pond or the lake, but but yeah, it is like I notice that all the time. Like I'll get enthralled with a place and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. They've got the biggest bronze bull in the world in this little town of like 200 people. But
Yeah.
then as you're like investigating, you're like, and they have like a community center and they have a curling rink and they have a legion and they have a memorial and a cenotaph. Like,
Yeah, and so, like, you kinda wanna know what makes that little town tick, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really interesting. Like, there's a place called Vulcan in Alberta, and, like, Alberta is the province I live in, and I've not explored it very much. I spent 15 years exploring Jamaica, so I really kind of wrote off Canada for the longest time. But now I'm, like, as I'm older and more, rooted here, like, I'm really patriotic now. I feel so blessed to live in Canada, but this Vulcan, Alberta, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like a miniature Star Trek town.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Google Vulcan, Alberta,
I
and,
will.
like, they
Yeah.
have, like, the Starship Enterprise there, and, like, it's really weird, and everybody there is Star Trek. It's so weird.
Yeah, and like and awesome at the same time. Like I don't know. That's what I love about like those little Canadian places. Like they'll like lean into that so hard, right? And like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
weird, but like it's wonderful. It's like,
It is, yeah, like
yeah, like
Drumheller, they have dinosaurs all in the streets everywhere there. It's not just the museum, the whole town is dinosaur. Like, there's
yeah.
dinosaur statues everywhere in Drumheller, and it's really cool to just go and see, and, I was driving toward Red Deer from here driving north from Calgary, and there's a sign on the side of the road, I've never been, but it says "Gopher Hole Museum." Uh, And so, like, you can actually take a turn off and go to a museum for gopher holes. Like, I don't know if gophers are called gophers everywhere, but that's like groundhogs, right? They're
Groundhogs,
called
yeah. Yeah,
groundhogs.
we have, so, like, 20 minutes from where I live is Wyerton, Ontario. That's where Wyerton Willie lives, he's a groundhog that tells if spring's coming early or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So, he's
So
like
funny.
this albino groundhog that, sometimes there's conspiracies from time to time that come up, like, "Oh, Willie isn't, like he isn't real and they just ship him in." And
Yeah,
when I was working, so before I started to do this writing thing, I worked for 20 years in developmental services.
yeah.
um, and we supported folks with intellectual disabilities in their home. One of the communities that I oversaw, the supported group living program, was in Wyerton. And we had like a little uh, recreation and leisure hall kind of beside where Willie is his cage is. And people would come in all the time, like all times of the year, like, Can I see Willie? Is he really is he really in there? Like what happened?" And
Is he really in there?
I don't know. I don't have the inside intel, but and
That's so
some
funny.
one
That's
year
so
some kids
random.
spray painted poor Willie green. When
That's so
yeah.
random. I
Yep,
love
it
that.
is. It's like
Well,
a
let's Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, again, like with those little communities you were talking about, like Willie, like that little community leans into that so hard. Like they have fireworks in the morning, so it's like the butt crack of dawn, and like,
So it's like Willy Day, basically, like Groundhog Day
yeah,
is
yeah,
Willy Day. That's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
Um,
it's awesome.
so let's talk a little bit about stereotypes of different Canadian places because you probably know here, Calgary, it's the Stampede. So everyone here or everyone thinks that Calgarians are like cow people, like it's like Yellowstone here, but it's not. Um, we do have a lot of prairies and we have Alberta beef and like it's world famous Alberta beef, but the Calgary Stampede, for anyone who doesn't know, is a 10-day rodeo slash midway fair. But the
Music
rodeo is,
concert.
there's so much music, like famous people
Yeah,
come here and everything. It's 10 days in July every year. And it's the biggest, they call it the biggest outdoor show on earth. And it's a huge rodeo. We get millions of tourists every year that come here for that. So the stereotype is like, that's all Calgary must be like. Because during the Stampede, you can get free pancakes anywhere in the street. There's pancake breakfast every day. You just go there and get free pancakes. There's like hay bales in the street and, and like horse crap in the streets because everyone's riding around on horses here, and it's so weird, but it's only 10 days really. But a lot of people think that that's what Calgary is. Oh, the Stampede, you must be cowboys, and like it's not like that. Are there any
Yeah.
stereotypes over like your way?
Um, yeah, I think like every so because the community I'm from is pretty small, like Owen
Yeah,
Sound's 20,000 people, and then we're not really on the way anywhere, so it's not like it's
not
very
everywhere anywhere.
rural, lots of farms, so we don't have like acts coming through, like big music acts. There's a
Yeah,
couple Canadian acts that like are known to play small towns, like Blue Rodeo will stop, or
yeah,
Sarah Harmer, the Tragically Hip have played around when back when they played. Um, uh, so every time you go to see like an artist that comes up from Toronto or a bigger city, like without fail, they're like, "Man, we didn't know where the bus was taking us." Like, there's all these. We saw cows in the field. Like,
that's
yeah,
so
that's
funny. Like some people have
yeah,
never. That's really funny. It's
yeah.
funny.
So I guess like the stereotype would be that yeah, people here are just kind of like redneck country bumpkins, like backwards and it's like, no, there are some definitely, and some
Mhm.
that like just choose that because it's like a caricature and it's funny. But yeah, for the
Yeah,
most part, it's people are diverse in the same interests as
yeah.
really most other places. So
Well, is
I
Owen Sound kind of part of cottage country, or like you hear about cottage country, or not really?
not really. We're just kind of underneath it. So like I guess you do have to go through Owen Sound to get to Tobermory, and that's where you can catch a ferry to Manitoulin Island. Um, and that's kind of like right in the middle of cottage country.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, like our so that's one Owen Sound's claims to fame is this ferry that winters in Owen Sound, and
yeah.
then it's like a big deal if you get to ride the ferry up when it goes up to the dock in Tobermory. And the ferry's called the Chi-Chi-Mon, so that's
Are
like
you serious? You know, that's
yeah.
really funny because in Jamaica, Chichiman is a gay person.
Right
That
on.
is, I've never heard that word used anywhere but Jamaica. That's so
Ah,
funny.
right on. They yeah, I
Um,
bet you if somebody came from Jamaica, they'd be like, "Wow, that's
well,
quite
the
a cruise."
Chichiman, they wouldn't want to ride that ferry.
That's awesome. That's
That's
yeah,
really funny to me.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think I
don't
think ferries are so charming to me because here we're landlocked in Alberta. We have like no water. We have lakes and stuff like that, but there's no ferry to go anywhere because it's just a lake. But
yeah,
we do. I feel blessed because I'm right beside the Rockies, like the Canadian Rockies. I can
man.
drive there in 40 minutes. And people fly here from all over the world to see those mountains, and I can see them out my front door.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
like, do you ever get like used to that? I always wondered that. Like I live in a town near water, but I don't live on the water. Like
yeah,
that's you got to have some rich parents to do that. But
yeah.
like I always wondered, like if you lived on the water, like why you'd ever leave your house. But like,
You
do you,
know, it's funny. I guess it's different. Like I was saying, when I lived in Jamaica, I would purposely go out of my way to drive. I didn't live on the water there either because, like, you just don't. That's where the hotels are.
yeah,
But like, I would purposely drive 20 minutes to watch the sunset, like to the beach to watch sunset most nights. But here, like I never appreciated Canada when I was so hardcore into Jamaica, but now, like I said, since the pandemic, I guess, I really, really grew a new appreciation for my country and especially my location in the country because of the mountains. Um, like I will regularly spend money to go Airbnb out in the mountains, and people are like, "Why would you do that? You live an hour away." But it's just different. It's different out there. And no, you don't. I don't know about anyone else, but I don't get tired of seeing the mountains.
that's
Like
awesome.
every morning when I walk my dog, I go to this field near my house, and the field is because I'm in the far west of my city. Like the city limits are right outside my back door.
Yep,
And then the mountains are there. So every morning I can see when the sun rises, like the tips of the mountains light up, and they're still covered with snow well into summertime.
that's
Um,
amazing.
it's gorgeous. It really is beautiful, and I've learned to just really love where I'm at because of the mountains.
That's cool that you take the time to notice because yeah, sometimes we get so bogged down with like all of the life stuff
Yeah,
and the heavy stuff that right you just kind of zombie through your day and
it's
it could
true.
be
It's
yeah
true.
days
And
before you. Oh
when
yeah,
I was a corporate person, I never noticed any of that stuff because, like, you're just busy corporating, and like
yeah,
half the year it's dark already when you're on your way to work because daylight savings and all that stuff. But now that I work from home and I work like minimal hours, as minimal as possible, because I like to enjoy my life too.
yeah.
So when I'm walking my dog at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and the sun's coming up and the mountains are right there, and I really truly appreciate it. However, if I had water out my front door, I might appreciate that a lot more.
Yeah, it's funny, like, every little town, like, every part of Canada, like, every not every, sorry, but I've did the posts of the Canada Lives Here, I think 179 or something, um, and I'm always shocked at, like, the magic of the internet of so I'll post that on Substack notes and on, like, Threads and Blue Sky, which is,
Mhm.
like, the not so yucky X. Um, and it will get served to people that are like from these places, and people will be like, yeah, this, I either grew up there or I have a friend or my mom, and they'll share pictures like of where they're from. I'm like, oh man,
Oh,
i
yeah.
i would never meet these people like
That's
in
actually really
real life.
cool. I never knew. I'm not on social media at all.
You're
I
smart.
maybe I know I was for many, many years when I was a travel writer, but yeah, I am off of social media now. But I had no idea that Threads would like target people like that.
Yeah, it's the best, like, when someone's like, "Hey, thanks," or "I didn't know that about here," or I had someone, I think it's a week ago, they're like, "Oh, man, and I didn't know this about New Brunswick, like, in school, we weren't taught anything or to be proud of our province, like, you just opened my eyes to our backyard." I'm like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
sweet, like, get out
yeah,
there," and then, and every like, we talked about mountains and we talked about water, but, like, everywhere people will send me these pictures and it's all beautiful. So it could be like stereotypical, like prairies, like big vast flat fields, beautiful. But like not
yeah.
just that. Like in Saskatchewan, somebody sent me this picture of this beautiful river. I'm like, if I saw the picture, I'm like, that's my ignorance. I wouldn't have thought Saskatchewan. I would have thought somewhere a
Yeah.
little bit more
And
lush. Like there's so many
yeah,
neat little
it's true
places.
though. Like I had to, my son lived in Saskatchewan for about a year. And so I would drive there to see him because it's a 6 hour drive or so. And driving there was torture because we're all prairie provinces over here, and so from here to there is a straight line and it's all the same road basically, and you could take 10 pictures along the way and they would all look identical. But when you get there, like, there's little things to look at, like, and so I found this river pathway under, and it goes under the bridge, and like it was really pretty. Like, I think everywhere in Canada has something beautiful about it.
Yep.
And like the province of Manitoba, don't they have something ridiculous like 6,000 lakes or something, or even more in
Yeah.
Manitoba?
Yeah, and then, Tim that's in the comments just mentioned about Saskatchewan having so many beautiful lakes, like, yeah,
Yeah,
they don't show up on the like, when we think of the map of Canada, right, it's just that one zoomed out of this big
yeah,
landmass, and so it's
yeah,
only, like, those major lakes, but, yeah, there's all kinds of little
yeah,
waterways and valleys and hills, and there's
yeah.
places that have ski hills that I would've been I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was just flat there," like,
I
it's
thought that about Ontario, and then I
oh,
know
yeah.
people, I know lots of people who live in Ontario, and
Yep,
they're like, "Yeah, we're going skiing," and I'm like, "Where?" I had no idea because we
yep,
have lots of skiing here. Alberta and BC has tons because of the mountains, but I would
yep.
have never known that. And like, you just learn things as you go. And that's again why I respect so much what you do. Like, why did you decide to start writing about Canada in the first place?
Well, I knew I wanted to write and do something creative. Like um, uh, I was pretty burnt out after 20 years of
Yeah.
working in developmental services. A good chunk of that, it was we're just a small agency, and so I was the on-call person, like 24/7,
Yeah.
and like I loved it.
That's
wouldn't trade anything
perfect.
for it. It was awesome, except sometimes it wasn't. And then through COVID, like there'd be days when I just like, I wouldn't know if I was going home because if we didn't have enough people to work
Yeah.
overnight, then I'd stay. So I knew I wanted to write and do something creative, and then, I started reading about, like, what she'd write about. What are you passionate about?" I'm like, "Well, if I think about like things other than like the birth of my daughter or my
Yeah.
wedding, or before split, um, like big things that like really get me
Light
fired
you
up,
up. Yeah.
light me up. It's like Canadian moments, and it was right around that time. I think that the Tragically Hip released their like that series. I think it was on Prime Video. It was
I
like a
don't even know about this.
Oh yeah, it was like a 3 episode series. Oh, somebody just said that they hitchhiked across Canada in '74. Jan. Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, so the Hip put out this 3 episode series, and it traced them from like when they went to school in Kingston, how they met, playing all these shows, and it ends with like towards the end when Gord passes away and they play that show in Kingston. I just
Yeah.
remember like bawling my eyes out through most of it, but then thinking about like that moment in Kingston when the Canadian band that sings Canadian stories, like known for not, breaking into the American scene and being okay with that,
Yeah.
like, and there was like people like in parks, like right in PEI watching it, and people in BC watching it. Like we were all together, and we all like we didn't care about where we lived or what
Yeah.
color our skin was or
Yeah.
anything that might make us think we're any different than anyone else. And so then part of me was like, I like that feeling, and I don't feel it enough. So like, how can I feel that myself, and how can I share that? And I found like there was lots of Canadian moments that feel like that. Like when the
Yeah.
women's soccer team won the gold at the World Cup, like that
I
was
I
huge.
feel very during the Olympics, I feel very patriotic too, even though
Yeah.
we're not like a big player in the Olympics
Yeah.
ever. But we are in the Winter Olympics for sure,
Yeah.
because like we have COP here. That's where in 1988 we had the Olympics here.
Yeah.
Um, but it's yeah, it is kind of a great feeling, and traveling anywhere if they know you're Canadian, they just kind of treat you extra nice. And I don't know, it's kind of a proud moment though, like when you go somewhere and they're like, "Oh, Canada, we love Canada." Even like Jan, the lady who said she hitchhiked across here
Yeah.
in 1974. She's in Jan, you're in Australia, right? I believe she
She
was a
said
client of
Oz. Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like to hear stuff like that is so great, but it's really unfortunate what's going on in America right now too, because I love road tripping, and that was going to be one of my things is like I want a road trip in America too, but not right now. Um, Oregon has been huge on my bucket list, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
not that far from me, but not anymore. And our dollar is worth crap there right now, and it's
Yeah.
just so. I think now is a great time to repatriate ourselves, I guess,
Yeah.
and fall back in love with our own country. And like we've been saying, it's such a huge country. There's no way unless you had a lot of money to see it all.
Yep.
Um, but it would be so great to
It's
like have a camper and just drive from coast to coast and see everything in between. That's a
Yep.
really big journey though.
Yeah. Yeah. There's yeah, I've seen so many neat places that I just kind of parachute into online. But yeah, there's this place I think it's called Miscou Island in New Brunswick.
Okay.
Never heard of it before, but if you like every picture that popped up was like stunning. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful. They've got like these peat bogs, and like looking at our shirt, it's like in the fall, like it's these vibrant like reds, and it's just like
Yeah.
the most beautiful place. It's very small. I think it was 170 people that lived there.
Oh, wow.
So I get looking and like, oh, what else could
Yeah.
be there? It's beautiful to look at. And there's this stone, this famous stone that they uh, locals say the Vikings left there, like in 700
Oh,
AD.
really?
And I'm like, the Vikings in New Brunswick, really? Like, never thought of that. Like,
Well, the
it's just
East Coast the East Coast of Canada has a big place in even American history too, because I think it's Nova Scotia, Halifax. Like a lot of the slaves who got out of America ended up in Halifax, and that I think it was
yeah,
like Scottish colonies were there at
yeah,
first or something. Like Canada has some really cool history.
Cool
Um,
history and cool people. Like when you said about Halifax, there was and slaves and people from outside of the area coming in. Um, I wrote a story about a fella named Dr. Clement Liguer, um, who came to Canada to study and was allowed. This was like right before the Halifax explosion, so like early 1900s. He was allowed to study and get his doctorate, even though he wasn't from here and his skin was black. Which soon after he graduated, McGill, I think he went to, no shade on McGill, like everyone did. They shut their
yeah.
doors to black people being able to get their doctorate. But so this Dr. Laguerre's in Halifax during the explosion. He's got a private practice. There's no healthcare at the time, and he doesn't have hospital rights again because of the color of his skin. This dude that I didn't know anyone that knew about him. Explosion goes off and like he's down there like treating people for free for like it bankrupted the poor man. Like he just opened his doors,
Wow.
said come on in. He was providing free healthcare to folks that worked on the railroads because again they were looked down upon and not welcome at other establishments or even hotels, or not hotels, hospitals. They'd be turned away. So this fella
Mhm.
like gives everything he can to Canadians, and then like and
That's
still we're like,
amazing.
yeah, no, you can't have a license. So, but yeah, his story is like so cool. And then what I like about even like the crappy stories in history, like the crappy part of that, like Canada not being very nice to this fella,
Yeah.
is like years later, there's this teacher that in the her class, grade 1 class, is doing this project, and they find out, somehow stumble across his story, and these grade 1s write letters to the local municipality, and
Mhm.
uh, he's the place where he practiced and lived out of, is like kind of dilapidated, ready to be destroyed. This little grade 1 class like writes these letters and makes a campaign, and they make it a heritage building so that it can't be torn down, and now his history is going to be remembered forever. And I'm like, oh my
That's
god.
amazing.
Like,
Yeah, that's
yeah, like,
amazing.
those are awesome stories that like unfortunately like that's not going to compete with you know
Yeah. Well, I
politics
was
or
just
anything. But
I'm just
sorry.
reading Amy's comment. There's an awesome Black Loyalist museum in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, I'm glad that people are piping in with stuff like that too, because I am going to make it to the East Coast on a bucket list road trip.
That's
So
awesome.
I've been noticing actually Nova Scotia has a lot of tourism ads on streaming TV right now, which is great. I love that Canada's really pushing tourism now because we're not traveling to the US now, which
Yeah,
is, I mean, that's sad. And I think it's going to be a hard times for America for a little while, but there's no time like now to explore our own country and, keep our money here and keep our adventures here.
yeah,
Uh,
if you do get out there, there's I haven't seen her name come up, but there's a person I met on Substack. Her name's Marcy, um last name's Rudolph, Marcy Keats Rudolph. Um, she's from Cape Breton, and
okay.
anything that I cover from Cape Breton, she adds like a whole bunch of context and
Oh,
beautiful
really?
stories and pictures. But like that place is cool, like the little fishing communities. It's beautiful. It's got like this beautiful coastal scenic drive. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I like, yeah, I got to get there.
I know. I just want to like go. I actually want to pack up everything and go. I have friends who are from Ontario. I think they were from London or nearby Ontario, husband and wife, and they sold everything in Ontario and they moved to Newfoundland. They bought a beautiful like waterfront. They're right on the water, coastal, for under 350,000, I think. And now their whole Facebook is always just pictures of their life there. And I'm just like, I want to go. But they live coastal and they quit their corporate jobs in Ontario and they both got a job at like a brewery out there.
Oh, nice.
And so they're like, yeah, we don't make hardly any money at all, but we don't need it here. Like cost of living
Yep.
is low. So I think that sounds fascinating. And now my work is remote. I work from home, so I could go anywhere.
Oh, you could take your show on the
I
road.
could, but it's just
Yeah,
such a big undertaking to like
it is. Yeah,
move across our country because it's so big.
yeah. And you'd have to take. Do you just have one dog, or do you have more than one?
Just one dog.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I could sell a lot of things too, but I have a lot of meaningful things here with me. So yeah, it's a big thing to consider.
For
But
sure. Yeah. I would like, I don't know. I haven't seen like a ton of places either, so I don't have much to compare it to. But like when I was saying earlier about being up in Baffin Island in Kimaru, so like tiny again community, no road access, so you can fly in, or when everything's frozen, you can snowmobile in.
yeah.
And then in the summer, it thaws for a few months, and they actually have like these big cruise ships come into this little tiny
Oh, no way,
community, remote
really?
community. Yeah, and stop. It kind of like
Interesting.
it overwhelms the community because there's just
Yeah,
like, at least when I was there, it was just one general store.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
love
like,
that though. It's so
yeah,
like low key and small townish. Like
yeah,
my sister lived in Yellowknife for a couple of years, Northwest Territories, because her husband was transferred there for work temporarily. And same thing, like they shut down uh, for a lot of time in the winter because access is so inhibited, and snowmobiling in and snowmobiling out. And they even had like 24 hours of darkness at certain times of the year.
yeah.
I don't know if I could do that, but I like the
Yeah,
sun.
it's like such a neat place to see. And again, like when we talked about some other places, like getting back to like it starts with like the beauty of the place, it captivates you, and then there's like some interesting nuances about the region or the even the
Mhm.
tiny little place, but then it's the people, right? So
Yeah.
when I went, it was part of a exchange program in high school, so I got to billet with a Inuit family that lived in the community,
Oh,
and
wow.
my twin Nuga was like he was like old school. Like I felt like like we were 18 or 19. Like he presented as if he was like 40. Like it was just like so
The old soul.
stoic and wise, and like no doubt about it. Like when he finished high school, he was going to live on the land like his dad and his grandpa did. And like I just like looked up to him like, man, you got everything figured out. And
Yeah.
the best experience, like he took me out on snowmobiles. We were going out to get ice for his grandma who he lived with. His mom and dad lived on the land, and his
Get
grandma
ice. You
refused.
need to go get ice there?
Yeah, so like to make to melt into fresh water to drink because the water
Oh,
treatment facility there often it would they'd be under boil water advisory, and his grandma
wow.
didn't she didn't trust the water. She would say like, I don't know what the government's putting in the water. And she was like old school, so we'd go out to a freshwater glacier and they
Mhm.
and chisel like off this, like I can't describe the blue, like blues I've never seen in my life
Wow,
on
for
this.
ice.
Yeah, and fill up this little wooden I forget what he called it, sleigh, but then pull it back for his grandma to melt. But when we
Yeah.
went, we're up on this glacier. I'm like just a kind of a dumb kid, teenager from Ontario, and oh, Tim says he loves my accent.
I know, I was laughing at that a second ago.
Thanks.
Tim, you have
Yeah.
one too, just so you know.
So we're up on this glacier, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the best, like, coolest place." And Anuga, he goes, "You see this? This is my land." And I'm like, "Oh man, like,
Yeah.
can you imagine like feeling that? Like we're
Yes, I
so
can because I feel
yeah.
that way in the mountains. Like, I will
Okay.
stand up. I don't wanna hijack your story
No, go
here.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I
Sledge, you're
went
right, Tim.
I went out to
Sorry.
the mountains, for my 50th birthday, and I wrote about it. It's somewhere in Wildhood Wanted. But I was out there, and my birthday is on November 30th, so, like, it's not ideal, it's always a winter birthday, and the week that I spent out there was the coldest of the whole winter. It was minus 30 something the whole time I was there, but I tell you, I stepped out onto that patio at that cabin and looked up, and you see a trillion stars out in the mountains, and you just see nothing but nature and beauty around you, and it's breathtaking. So
Wow.
I get it. When I look around when I'm in the mountains, I'm like, I can't believe that I live here, you know? It's
Yep.
gorgeous. So I do
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah, it really made me like put things into perspective. Like when I came back home, everybody is concerned about their fence and not having anyone encroach on
Yep,
their right. And then you go up there and everybody's just like, no, this is ours. Like right. And when we came, like these kids from Ontario flew into their little community. It wasn't like this is ours. It's like respect. It's like welcome to our community. Now this
yep,
is
yep.
this is yours to enjoy while you're here, and let us tell you
Yeah.
about it. It was just
I
like
find that
yeah.
with travel almost anywhere, it's for
Okay.
me anyways, it's the people that make everything the
Yeah.
best. Even when I went to New Orleans, like, yeah, everything in New Orleans is friggin' awesome and fun and lively, but the people were incredible. Like it was
Yeah.
just like down home Southern hospitality and it was beautiful. So
Yeah.
for me, it's always been the people that have made my travels really worthwhile.
Definitely.
Um,
That's like my favorite stories to write. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I've written about a lot of people. Like maybe I should cover an event, but like it's always the people
always
that's
the
like the
people.
most interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially like people that are like ordinary people and then they do these extraordinary things. Like I
yeah.
don't do you are you close to McBride where you live? That
McBride,
little community? I think it's in oh,
is it? See, I'm
oh
such a.
maybe no, it's in British Columbia. Sorry. It's next door.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's a little village called McBride. I feel like it's close to the border with Alberta, but it backs onto the mountains. There was a story about these two horses that got left. This kind of idiot didn't know how to look after horses. It wasn't a
Yeah.
horse person. Got into trouble up in the mountains, got stuck in the mud, and left his two horses there, and like just left them. And the winter came in. He figured they'd come down. They didn't. They got stuck. So they're like surrounded by snow, like 8 feet high. Uh, and these people are out. And in the little town of McBride, I think it was going through some hard times, like a lot of small rural communities,
Mm,
maybe 20 years ago. Um, and I don't know, people are just out putting around on their snowmobiles and they'd seen these horses. So a couple went out and they tried to find them. And the community's like, what's up with these horses? Like, they can't be out there. So, anyways, they finally find these horses. And for 10 days, this tiny community like rallies. Like, they're probably, like, from what I understand, it, like daily life was a struggle to put food on the table. Drop what they're doing, they go up and by hand because of the weather, they can't get up with machines. They dig friggin' take like a couple. I just spit everywhere, sorry, I was so excited. They dig like a couple kilometers of a trail and they're putting blankets on and they're putting hay down
mhm.
and feeding these horses. They get the horses down and save them, and like I just couldn't like
I
that's
love that.
amazing. Like this
Yeah,
community, it was like I can just like feel like like the excitement in the community, like right, like we got to do something about it. And everyone, okay, you bring a chainsaw and yeah, you got the shovel. Okay, we'll do nights and you do days, and they just made it happen. And like
yeah.
so cool.
Canadians really, really band together, especially in like catastrophe kind of things. I have so many moments from my childhood and teenagehood where we've had I remember one time when I was a teenager, there was a massive rainstorm here. Like it was so bad that the roof of the local Woolco store
Oko.
collapsed. Yeah, Woolco's
Sorry, yeah, I shouldn't laugh. Yeah, that's
many, many
terrible.
years
But yeah,
ago.
yep, yep. Mhm.
But so everything was flooded here, and there was these teenagers. Their car died right in front of our house, and I was just a teenager too. And my mom invited them in, and like these stranger teenagers spent the weekend at our house because they couldn't
Really?
go anywhere else. Yeah, and we had no power, so we like lit candles, and my mom made food for them, and in winter too, if your car dies, like somebody will show up with a shovel.
Yeah,
It's just the way we are, and I really love how people just band together, especially in winter here, because there's accidents and stalls and everything all over the place when it's winter in Canada. It's just the way it is. Like you guys get
yeah.
ice storms out there, right?
Yeah, yeah, we haven't had like a real bad one for I don't know, maybe a decade, but we still get the odd one, like
Mhm.
enough that it really damages some of the trees, which is sad to see. But
Yeah, and you guys
um,
lose power and stuff like that.
power,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah,
We
yeah,
don't get the
it's
ice storms because we have no humidity over here. It's so dry.
oh, okay.
But we get
Yep.
a shit ton of snow though. Like we
So
know snow.
yeah, when we were talking about cold, yeah, that's a saying around here. Sometimes old timers will be like, yeah, it's damp cold. Sometimes people think they say damn cold, but it's like damp cold, and
Damn
it's
cold.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what kind of snow or cold that makes it feel like 20 degrees colder than it is. Like it gets in your bones, and like folks with arthritis are like, oh
Yeah.
man, it sucks today.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's the same way in like Vancouver area too, because I lived in the greater Vancouver for a couple of years when I was in college. And it's really moist there too, like really humid there. So it feels cold in the winter, even if it's not. But it was funny living in Vancouver because they would get like a snow dump like once a year. And it was big snow, but it was very, very wet because like heavy wet snow
heavy.
because of where it is. And like the only cars that were going anywhere were ones with Alberta plates because BC, they don't really like in Vancouver area, they don't have snow plows, they don't have sanders, they don't have
Right.
all that stuff that we have here. And so like we know how to drive in snow here in Alberta. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we get a discount on our car insurance if we put snow tires on the car because it's such
Same
a
here. Same here.
deal breaker.
And I heard it's the law in Montreal or in Quebec.
Yep.
It's the law. You have to have snow tires,
Yep.
which I think first time I heard that, I was like, wow, really? Because like, what if you are a broke person and you can't afford snow tires because they're not cheap?
They're not
So
cheap though.
then you just can't, it's illegal to drive without snow tires there. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's my understanding next door. Yeah, I don't know like how closely it's being monitored, but I guess if you got in an accident and you didn't have your snows on, you'd be in big trouble.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's no joke driving without snow tires, though. It's
Oh gosh,
dangerous.
yeah.
Like until
Yep.
recently, I actually drove a stick my entire life, and I love driving a stick in winter because it feels a lot safer to me. Um,
Yep. You have more control over, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
What
like
you're
you don't have to brake to stop; you can just gear down.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. You guys have that Highway to Hell show that always has the 401 in Ontario?
401. Yeah.
The 401, and
Yeah,
there's
you're right.
some
Yeah.
hellish stuff over there, and same here, like the mountain truckers here, like, I
Yep.
don't know how they do that.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch when it sucks when you're stuck behind them, but
Yeah.
when they plow it because they have to plow it, they have like a line of plows going, so there'll be one like they're kind of
Yeah, in
staggered,
tandem.
and they just yeah, my dad got behind them. I guess he had an appointment down in Toronto the other day, and coming home, he got behind them, and it's usually like about 2 hours to get to Toronto from here, and I think he said it took him like six because they're
Oh,
going like
that's
so
gross.
slow, but they're
Yeah,
efficient.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we'd be lost without snowplows here in Canada, for real, we would. I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
there's anywhere in Canada that's really safe from snow except for probably, like, Vancouver Island.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never been there, but I think they're probably the safest in all of this country.
yeah. That's another place like that I want to see is the Great. I think it's I don't know if it's called the Great Bear, but there's like their Great Bear Rainforest. I think it's called in BC, and I'm like a rainforest in Canada. Like I always thought that was a funny thing to think of. Like you think
Yeah.
rainforest like in the Caribbean or
In, like,
somewhere where
Costa
it's
Rica. Yeah.
yeah, Costa Rica, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, they've got like this rainforest, and it's home to the oh, I can't think of the indigenous name for them, but they're like they're called spirit bears. Have you seen those white bears? They're not
Spirit
polar
bears.
bears. They're
No, I
th-
haven't.
oh my, and they're like the most majestic, cool looking creature. Like
That sounds awesome. That
it's
sounds
yeah,
awesome.
like I have to get there.
BC, BC, I think, oh, Sherry is saying rainforest in northern BC, Kitimat and Prince Rupert.
Yeah,
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 BC, I think, is probably the most versatile, like the most varied province because they've got the mountains and all the snow, like interior BC and stuff, but then they've also got like summer lakes. But the further west you go, like Vancouver, they don't get much snow there, but and they have forests. Like I've been on forest hikes in Chilliwack and places like
okay.
that. When you're in the forest there, it looks like you're in Narnia. Like the trees are these big giant oak trees and they're all filled, like the trunks are filled with moss.
Yep.
green moss, and it's friggin' gorgeous. And like
Wow.
it's like Narnia there.
Yep.
A lava
That
field,
was
Norfolk Terrace.
Oh, yeah, I have heard of
Sherry,
that. Yep. Sherry
Sherry,
mentioned this.
are you from BC, Sherry? I never knew this about you. Sherry lives here where I live. We've met in
Oh,
person.
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
She mentioned about the cinnamon bears as well from northern BC. Oh, we
Yeah.
got Amy from the BC mountains. Sherry's no, she just knows a lot about BC.
I guess
And
so.
then like on the coast, like anywhere in the Haida Gwaii, I don't know how to say the name, archipelago. I don't know.
Archipelago?
Yes,
Yeah.
you nailed it. That's
I've
too
heard
many
other people say
syllables for me,
it.
especially with my accent. But like so many of those islands, like are like not necessarily Narnia, but it looks like yeah, you're going back in time. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know. There's and the history, like it feels like you can almost like feel it when you're there. Like
There's if I wasn't scared of tsunamis and stuff like that, I
yeah,
would go pick one of those islands off the coast of Vancouver, because there's like a whole there's so many little islands there and little settlements and towns and stuff where you can't go anywhere except by ferry.
yep,
And but I'm scared of the West Coast because
okay,
if there's like a tsunami from Japan, it'll hit it'll hit BC. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm scared of coast because of those kind of things. Like, and I
yeah,
feel it's a legit fear. Like there's tsunami. You know those signs they put up,
yep.
tsunami.
Protected
One
area or
like run this way because of a
yeah,
tsunami. Yeah,
go
those kind
uphill.
of
Yeah,
signs.
yeah.
I don't want to be there.
Yeah, yeah, I
Like,
guess, so I don't know if I was telling you, but I'm trying to figure out how to like, on Substack, there's a poll feature, but
yeah,
it's not very good on, because you have to, like, get people to go to the post and then
yeah,
click,
yeah.
and it's, like it's kinda
It's n-
clunky.
yeah.
I try to do it through notes, I also do it on social media, but I have this poll going now about what should be a heritage minute. So you remember those tacky kind of commercials from the 90s, like Dr. I Smell Burnt Toast, those
Yeah,
ones.
I remember
Yeah.
those.
They still make those like they stopped for a while and now like every couple years they'll put out a few more. So I picked like 64 random, not random, like kind of thought out things from Canadian history. And we're having this little competition where they like two will go head to head and the winner moves on to round two. But one is this it was like a hurricane from 17 like 1600s 1700s that like for years indigenous people on the coast of BC would talk about like this event and like of course not of course sorry that's overgeneralizing but unsurprisingly many of us white folks were like yeah that's oral history that's not it's not written
Yeah,
down it's not real and so now like somewhat recently through archaeological
yeah.
research they've proved that this thing happened that indigenous folks have been saying for a long time that live there but it was like devastating and someone I think it's Alexis she might be on or she might have popped off I made a good point on that she's like there's so many places like along the coast that have indigenous names that mean high ground or safe place because like they
Oh,
knew like that was such a
yeah,
right like if the weather's coming like get up high so
yeah.
yeah yeah
Interesting. Yeah, I don't I'm pretty scared of the West Coast for that reason.
yeah
Otherwise I probably would try and live there, although it's probably the most expensive place to live here in Canada is like
yeah
Vancouver or Toronto.
yeah
But yeah, the islands out there look beautiful. When you take off in a plane from Vancouver Airport, you can see all those islands out the window, like, and it's looks just beautiful.
yeah I used to want to live in the house from do you remember the show Danger Bay from like CBC growing up is
I
like
remember the name of it, but I'm not sure I watched it. But beachcombers as well. I used
yeah
to
yeah
want to live in a place like that.
Yep. Yeah, Danger Bay. Dr. Grant lived on the coast of BC, and he had like this aquatic research. Like he was a marine biologist, I think, and his kids grew up with like seals and protecting the
That's so
like
cool.
it was such a Canadian show. Like that's always
It's
tips
him.
like how Danger Bay. Like the synopsis of one episode would be like there's poachers like out in and they've got gill nets down and that would be like "Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun," like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Dr. Grant and the kids would go out and then somebody would have a shotgun. You're like, what do you do with a shotgun out there? But it was such a good show. But
yeah.
I used to want to
Relic.
live in his. Yeah, relic.
I never remembered that until Sherry just said it. Relic. That was the
Yeah,
guy's name, right?
yeah, with the tube, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, relic, and then,
Like we look like
littlest
beachcombers. Like
dude.
this is so Canadian. Like that's why I
Yeah,
wanted us to wear these things because
that's awesome.
I knew you would have one because we all have one.
Yeah, the, what else? Littlest Hobo, was that a thing, out
Was it?
west?
Yes. I
Yeah.
felt so sad every episode. Like he would just trot off into nowhere land by himself. Is that a
Yeah, you couldn't.
Canadian show?
Yeah, yeah, and it was, um I think, like, one of its claims to fame was that it was shot on, like, right around the time when, like, VHS was, like, a big technology,
Yeah.
and so it was cheaper too to shoot than on film, so they shot it on, like, VHS camera, of course,
Yeah.
like, Canadian, but yeah, the mean guy, yeah,
I don't think I
um,
ever knew Littlest Hobo was Canadian. I thought all
yeah,
Canadian TV was crap TV until like
yeah,
because now like even if there's Canadian productions, I feel like I can tell it's Canadian by watching it.
yeah, you can, like, you have to suspend your expectations, but once,
Yeah.
like, if you can embrace it, sometimes it's hard,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there's lots of stuff that I'm like, "Oh, no," but yeah, the hobo was, Canadian, and I guess it was, like, huge in the UK. So it, like,
Aw.
was syndicated in, like, I don't quote me on the number, but, like, 150 plus different countries
Oh,
watching,
wow.
watching The Littlest Hobo, and the song is massive. So, like, it's been used in campaigns for, like,
I
a big
remember the
airline
song.
in the yeah, exactly. It was used in, like, this campaign, and, um the guy that sorry, I'm, like, such a nerd. The guy that wrote the song is a Canadian. He used to write, like, he was a musician, didn't really make it, and then he got into writing, jingles for commercials,
Yeah.
and worked on a couple things, and somebody called him to make the song for Littlest Hobo, and it's, like, iconic now. He
Yeah.
made this, like, super smart move. He got some advice, and the person told him, "Don't sign away your rights to the song." Like, give them the
Yeah.
song, you hold the rights, and then you'll be due royalties. He had no way of knowing at the time that, like,
Yeah.
it gets so big. So he found out, like, decades later that it's being used in Europe for these huge, like, very, very successful
Wow.
advertising campaigns. So he's like, "Hey, man, that's my song." So he made some bank off it. Like, he said
Yeah.
not enough to, like, he's not a, cajillionaire or anything, but it kept the lights on and bought some groceries, and
That's awesome, that's awesome.
yeah.
Canada Lake has produced some good stuff, and more Hollywood things are filmed here because,
Yeah.
we have really great incentives for that, and their dollar is worth a lot more than ours, and, like,
Yeah.
The Last of Us, the zombie
Yep.
show? It was filmed here in Calgary, like,
I
a
didn't
lot of
know that.
parts of it. Lots of parts of it, so in the 1st season, when they show, like, that whole dilapidated downtown scenes and stuff, that's our
Yep.
downtown, and
Oh, right on.
I actually worked close to downtown when they were shooting that, so I saw, like, the overpasses full of beat up cars and, like, for the film set, right?
Oh,
It's so
wow.
neat to watch places that you know. Brokeback Mountain was filmed in this general area. It's so neat to see places you know on big screen TV and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it
Um,
totally is. Somebody had mentioned earlier, but just the way that comments show up, I missed the top of it. But yeah, something about, I think, a brother being an extra in a movie that was filmed in a place with the iconic green elevator. We haven't talked about those, but, like,
yeah.
I'm a
Yeah,
sucker for those. I love, like, it's such a shame that so many have burnt down and have fallen down, but those things are so beautiful. Like,
I agree.
yeah,
Driving through the countryside and you see, like, a falling down barn or something like that, it just looks so iconically Canadian, I
it
guess.
does. Yeah.
Um, like, even I was an extra in a movie when I was a teenager, so this was, like,
Oh,
100 years ago. The Japanese filmed a movie here called Shogun,
oh,
and,
really? That was
like,
filmed here?
an original Shogun, like,
Yeah.
there's now a newer version, I
Right.
believe.
Yep.
Yeah, my mom and I were extras. We were just like soldiers. We all stood in a field wearing, like, Japanese armor, but it was filmed here.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, it's really cool. And Cool Runnings, the Jamaican bobsled movie, was filmed here in Calgary.
Oh, man.
Yep. Because
But, like, could you
that's
ima
Go ahead.
sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say, like, John Candyman, like, I
Yeah,
could can you imagine if you got to meet that guy? Like, what a special
I
man that
know, I know, and he was here for the filming, but of course, I was a teenager then, so it wasn't as, like, meaningful to me back then,
Yeah.
but,
I think they
yeah,
were
it's
making I think there's supposed to be, like, a documentary about him
oh, really?
that's yeah, hopefully I haven't missed it coming out, but yeah, I would think it would be interesting to see, and I think, like, his family supported it and was involved. I wanna say one of his daughters, so but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't know you had some acting chops in your resume. Man,
I mean, I was like just one of the foot soldiers, but I was so jealous because I wanted to be one of the horse soldiers in that movie because when I was a teenager, I was a horse girl. I had my own horse and stuff,
okay.
and yeah,
Uh,
but
James
there's
says
just
that they loved James or Jamie, sorry, that they love Shogun, so yeah, you're
yeah,
talking to your
and
peeps.
like, do you mean the original one, Jamie? Because I know that there's a brand new Shogun because they just won a bunch of awards for this new Shogun, but there was one like a long time ago. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
so
Nathan Fillion, yeah. Sorry, I cut
yeah,
you off. What was your horse's name?
her name was Tanis, and she was like a
Tanis.
little she was little, she was almost pony size, but she was a little quarter horse,
Aw.
and, yeah, she was pretty awesome. She bucked me off. When the day I bought her, she bucked me off and I broke my arm,
Oh,
but
no.
I still loved her.
Yep, she was just testing you, right? To see
I
yeah,
feel like she was
yeah,
because you know what? The day that I sold her, she bucked off the other kid too. So
yep,
I think that she was just trying to test everybody's chops.
yeah. That's a lady I used to work with, she has horses, mini horses. I'm not a horse person, so I'm ignorant. Like, I think they're amazing. I just don't know much about them. But she would tell me like the most amazing stories about how I think she had five, and about how like one's an alpha. Like they have very designated roles in their little
Yeah,
like
pecking
clique, and
orders.
yeah, and yeah, over time, like the alpha, as they got older, like someone came and challenged, and and it all works. Like it was just fascinating. Like horses are so smart.
They
Like
really are, you
yeah.
know, after my horse bucked me off and I broke my arm, and then months later, I got back on her, and we were like this from that day on. She was the horse where I could walk out to the field and just, uh, "Thanks, Amy. Thank you for coming. Thanks for loving our jackets." Uh, no, my horse was the one where I could jump on her back without putting a saddle or a bridle or anything on and ride her back to the barn. She was so good.
Oh,
It was really neat. But
amazing.
yeah, I think we are kind of heading into like extended time
Sure,
territory
yeah.
here. And I'm looking at my phone battery actually.
Yeah, it flew by. Like, it was such a pleasure, speaking with you this afternoon about this kinda impromptu
Yeah.
Canadian stuff. There's just I don't like, I just love, like, the things that you shared and that people shared in the comments,
Yeah,
and it
agreed.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I wanted to do this with you. I invited you to do this because I really love what you're doing, especially now. And I want everyone to subscribe to you because you'll learn a lot more about Canada through your Substack than you will ever learn from me.
Ah, right on.
But
Well, thank you. Yeah,
I think it's great
it's
what you're
like
doing.
oh, it's a super pleasure to be able to do it, and so fortunate that you can do it. Like, I'm so lucky that I was born in the time I was, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't have to be, I don't know, going to the archives. Like, it's so convenient to do a lot of
Yeah.
Craig's Encyclopedia. Yeah.
I know you are an encyclopedia.
Funny.
Sherry must be a subscriber of yours because
Y-
I when I found your Substack and went to it, I was so impressed with all the stuff you know that I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
right up.
and I'm not really a researcher or a history buff, but I would like to do more of like what you're doing, but within my own Canada is such a vast topic, but I would like to do it in my own area, like in Alberta.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I
Well,
think there's a
that's
lot
awesome.
to love. There's a lot to love in every province here. They're so different.
Yeah, the University of Calgary has like an amazing online archive. So I think it's the best one that I've seen in Canada, where they've collected a lot of different heritage groups from different communities and genealogical societies that have put out like those kind of, you don't see them as much anymore, but like the history of like that
Mhm.
house, that family lived there. Um,
Yeah.
they've digitized a lot of that through the Calgary University. So if you ever are looking, I would start there because you get into the weeds and it's so amazing.
It's true. Actually, I had a massage therapist once here who did ghost tours in Calgary as a
Right.
side gig because there's a lot of like haunted and old and ghosty things here. And I was like, wow, that's so fascinating.
Oh, that would
Who
be
would
an awesome
know?
job.
I
Yeah,
know it'd be so fun. And he just set it up all himself and like does that. So, to
amazing.
anyone who wants to know more about Canada, I would say subscribe to Craig's Substack, Pinecone Diaries. Also,
Thanks.
Google Canadian documentaries because there's lots of people like Canadians who have traveled across the country and then made documentaries about it.
Yeah.
They're so fascinating. Like Canada is just the coolest place ever.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm looking at some of these little towns, you'd be surprised how many YouTube videos they have like 3 views. But yeah, somebody's just took their camera and sometimes they've just walked because it's just like a
Yeah.
10-person little
Yeah.
hamlet. They've just walked down the street and they're like, here's the corner store that used to be
Yeah.
like
I
people are really
sometimes,
proud of their home. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I sometimes wish that I had invested as much into my own country as I invested into Jamaica because I could tell you everything there is to know about Jamaica. And
That's
I'm sadly lacking in knowledge in my own country, but now that I'm rooted here, I think that'll change. I think it's going
for
to
sure.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially now, like, yeah, I think it's a good time to kind of look around us instead of maybe looking other places for
Yeah. Yeah.
inspiration. Yeah,
And Americans can come here without being
yeah,
detained. So, like,
yep,
you guys should just come here and spend your money in Canada because
yeah,
we're not going to
definitely.
put you in holding facilities. We're just going to welcome you.
A travel perk.
Yeah. So come visit us.
Yeah, and if you come during the stampede, you get free pancakes. That's amazing.
Yes, you do.
I
And you have
I'm
to
just
what?
picturing like this like tanker truck full of maple syrup from Quebec trying to get there in time
Probably.
for That's awesome.
The pancake breakfasts are so epic. Like you can literally get free pancakes anywhere here during, and there's lineups like around blocks to get these pancake breakfasts here for
That's
free.
amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Love it.
It is. All right. Well,
Right on.
thank you so much, Craig, for spending your time with me this afternoon. I really appreciate you showing up, and I'm
Yeah,
really
thanks
glad
for
to
arranging it.
see that. I'm glad to see that we got like 70 plus people on this too.
Yeah, that's sweet. Amazing. Like I'm always because I'm nerdy, but like the magic of the internet still gets me. Like I think
Same.
sometimes we take for granted that you press a button and like there's people across all of Canada that we just reached. Like I think that's
Yeah.
fascinating. But
Even people in my own city, like Sherry,
yeah,
she's
yeah,
probably she's sitting 20 minutes away from me. Shit. And thank you for coming, Sherry, even if you were late. We
yeah.
have to go for nachos soon.
Right on. Awesome. Yeah, thanks to everyone that did join in and chirp in too. That's the best when people pile on and give the extra context and the I've been there. Like, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
people, man.
100%. Okay, Sherry, I'll text you. Okay, thank
Let's
you so
reciprocate.
much, Craig. And I guess we'll see each other on Substack.
Sounds great. Thanks very much for setting it up. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, we'll see you all later.